Canto 4 of the Lusiads. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Leni. The Lusiads, by Luís Vaz de Camões. Translated by Sir Richard Francis Burton. Canto 4. Argument of the fourth Canto. Da Gama pursueth his discourse with the king of Melinde, and relateth the wars between Portugal and Castile, touching the succession to the throne after the death of the king Dom Fernando. Military feats of the constable Dom Nuno Álvares Pereira. Battle and victory of Aljubarrota. Diligent attempt to discover India by land in the days of the king Dom João II. How the king Dom Manuel gained this end by resolving upon the present voyage. Preparations for it. Embarkation and farewells of the navigators upon the Belém beach. Another argument. Aclamado João, de Pedro herdeiro, convoca Leonor ao castelhano. Opõe-se Nuno, intrépido guerreiro. Dá-se batalha, vence o lusitano. Quem a aurora buscou tentar primeiro, pelas túmidas ondas do oceano. E como ao Gama coube esta alta empresa, por afinar a glória portuguesa. João acclaimed to be Pedro's heir. Leonor craveth aidance of Castile. Withstandeth Nuno, warriors and fear. They fight, and conquest crowns the Lusian's wheel. Who first went forth the morning land to spear, and through the tumid flood his way to feel. And how to Gama fell the great emprise, to gar our Portugal's glory higher rise. Canto 4. After the horrors of the stormy night, with gloom and lightning gleams and hiss of wind, breaks lovely morning's pure and blessed light, with hope of haven and sure rest to find. Sol banisheth the dark obscure from sight, laying the terror of men's timid mind. Thus to the doughty kingdom it befell, when King Fernando bade this world farewell. For, if so many with such hopes were fired, for one whose potent arm their harms could pay, and those that wrought their wrongs with soul untired, nerved by Fernando's heedless, feeble way, in shortest time it happed as they desired, when ever-glorious John arose to sway, the only heir that did from Pedro spring, and, though a bastard, every inch a king. That such accession came from heaven divine proved special marvels, God his truth proclaiming, when ever a city saw the choicest sign, a babe of age and speech the ruler naming. And, but to show the heaven's supreme design, she raised her cradled limbs and voice, exclaiming, Portugal, Portugal, high uplifting hand, for the new king, Dom John, who rules the land. Changed in sprite were all within the reign, old hatreds firing hearts with novel flame. Absolute cruelties none cared restrain, popular fury dealt to whence it came. Soon are the friends and kith and kinsmen slain of the adulterous county and the dame, with whom incontinent love and lust unblessed the wapened widow showed manifest. But he, dishonored and with cause at last, by cold white weapon falls before her eyes, and with him many to destruction passed, for flame so kindled all-consuming flies. This, like as the annex is headlong cast from the tall steeple, spite his dignities, whom orders, altar, honors not avail, those through the highways torn and stripped they trail. Now long oblivion veils the deeds accursed of mortal fierceness, such as Rome beheld, done by fierce Marius, or the bloody thirst of Sylla when perforce his foe expelled. Thus Leonor, who mortal vengeance nursed for her dead county gars, with fury swelled, Castilia's force on Lusitania fall, calling her daughter heir of Portugal. Beatrice was the daughter, interwed with the Castilian, who for kingship greedeth, putative offspring of Fernando's bed, if evil fame so much to her concedeth. Hearing the voice, Castile high raiseth head, and saith this daughter to her sire succeedeth. For warfare mustereth she her warrior bands from various regions and from various lands. They flock from all the province by one brigo, if such man ever was, I clapped of yore, and lands by Ferdinand won, and Cid Rodrigo from the tyrannic governance of the Moor. Little in fear of warlike feet doth he go, who with hard plowshare cleaving lordeth o'er the champaign Lyonese, and boasts to be the blight and bane of Moorish chivalry. In valor's ancient fame the Vandal host, confident still and stubborn, 'gan appear from all Andalusia's head, and boast, laved by thy crystal wave, Guadalquivir. The noble island eke while ere the post of Tyrian strangers to the war drew near, bringing insignia by renown well known, Hercules' pillars on their pennons show. Eke come they trooping from Toledo's reign, city of noble ancient origin spanned by Tagus circling with his sweet-glad vein that bursts and pours from Conca's mountain land. You also, you, all craven fear disdain, sordid Gallegos, hard and canny band, for stern resistance fast to arms ye flew, warding their doughty blows whose weight ye knew. Eke war's black furies hurried to the fight, the fierce Biscayan folk, who clean despise all polished reasons, and the wrongness light of stranger races bear in patient guise. Asturias' land and that Guipuscoan height, proud of the mine which iron ore supplies, with it their haughty sworders armed and made ready their rightful lords in the war to aid. John, in whose bosom peril only grows, the strength Jew Samson borrowed of his hair, though all he hath be few to fight his foes, yet bids his few for battle-gage prepare. And, not that counsel fails when danger shows, with his chief lords he counsels on the fair, but drift of inner thoughts he seeks and finds, for mid the many there be many minds. Nor lack their reasonings who would disconcert opinions firmly fixed in popular will, whose wheel of ancient valor is convert to an unused and disloyal ill. Man, in whose heart's fear, gelid and inert, reigneth, which faith and truth were wont to fill, deny they king and country, and if tried, they had, as Peter did, their God denied. But ne'er did such denial sin appear in noble Nuno Alvares, nay, instead, although his brothers showed the foe so clear, he fiercely chid the fickle hearts misled, and to the lieges steeped in doubt and fear, with phrase more forceful than fine drawn, he said, too feared for Facon, as he bared his glaive, threatening earth, seas, and sphere with ban and brave. What, mid the noble sons of Portugal, that kneels to strike for freedom beats a heart? What, in this province which the nations all crown war's princes in every earthly part, breathes, who his aid denies, such nidring thrall, renaming faith and love and force and art of Portugal, and, be whate'er the cause, would see his country keep the stranger's laws? What, flows not still within your veins the blood of the brave soldiers who neath banners borne by great Henrique's fierce, with hero mood, this valiant race in war did ever scorn, when ta'en so many banners, and withstood so many foemen, who such losses mourn, that 7 noble jarls were forced to yield their swords, besides the spoils that strew the field? Say you, by whom were always trodden down these, now who seem to tread adown on you, for Dinis and his son of high renown, save by your sires and grandsires during do? Then, if by sin, or sore neglect o'erthrown, so could your olden force Fernand undo, to you fresh forces this new king shall bring, an it be sooth that subjects change with king. Such king ye have, that an ye courage have equal his kingly heart ye raise to reign, all enemies shall ye rout, so be ye brave, much more the routed eke to rout again. But an such noble thought no more may save your souls from penetrant fear to bosom ta'en, the craven hands of silly terrors tie, the stranger's yoke I, only I, defy. I, with my vessels only, and my brand. This said, his dreadful blade he bared midway, against the high and hostile force will stand, that threats a kingdom strange to strangers sway. by virtue of my liege, my mourning land, of loyalty denied by you this day, I'll conquer all, not only these my foes, but whatsoever durst my king oppose. E'en as the youths who escaping Cannae field its only remnants, to Canusium fled despairing, and well nigh disposed to yield and hail the Carthaginian victory led, the young Cornelius to their faith appealed, and took his comrade's oath upon his blade, the Roman arms to uphold as long as life hold, or have power to escape the mortal strife. Forceth the folk enforced in such wise Nuno, and when his final words they hear, thy cold and sullen humour sudden flies, that curdled spirits with a coward fear. To mount the beast Neptunian all arise, charging and tossing high the lance and spear. They run and shout with open-mouthed glee, long live the famous king who sets us free. All the popular classes, not a few, approve the war their natal land and home sustains. These fare to furbish armours, and remove injurious rust, of peace the biting stains. They quilt their morions, plates for breast they prove, each arms himself in as his fancy feigns, while those on coats with thousand colours bright, the signs and symbols of their loves indite. With all this lustrous company enrolled, from fresh Abrantes sallies John the Brave, Abrantes, fed by many a fountain cold of Taga's rolling, sweet, abundant wave. The vanguard knights commends that warrior bold by nature fittest made command to have, of th' Oriental hordes withouten count, wherewith Sir Xerxes crossed the Hellespont. I say Don Nuno, who appeared here, the proudest scourger of that prideful Spain, as was in olden days the Hun so fear, curse of the Frankish, of Italian men. Followed another far-famed cavalier, who led the dexter phalanx Lusitane, apt to dispose them, prompt to lead his fellows, Men Rodrigues they call, de Vasconcelos. While of the knights in corresponding flank, Anton Vasques d'Almada hath command. To Avranches' earldom rose anon his rank, who holds the Lusian host's sinistral hand. Nor far the banner from men's notice shrank in rear, where sunk by castles borders stand, with John, the king, who shows a front so dread, e'en Mars must learn to hide his minished head. Line at the rampart groups of trembling fair, whom hopes and fears alternate heat and freeze, mothers and sisters, wives and brides, in prayer, with fasts and pilgrim vows the heavens to please. And now the squadrons want the war to dare, affront the serried hosts of enemies, who meet this onset with a mighty shout, while all are whelmed in dreadful direful doubt. Messenger trumpets to the cries reply, and sibilant fife, and drum, and atambor, while ancients wave their flags, and banners fly with many-coloured legends broidered o'er. 'Twas fruity August when the days be dry, and Ceres heaps the peasants' threshing floor. August, when Sol Astria's mansion reigneth, and the sweet must of grapes Laius traineth. Sudden Castilia's trump the signal gave, horribly fearful, sounding Tamar's dread. Heard it the hill Artabras, and his wave Guadiana rolled backwards as he fled. O'er Douro entranced again lands it drave, Taga's sore agitated seaward sped, while mothers, trembling at the terrible storm, embraced with tighter arm each tiny form. How many faces there one waxed and white, whose fainting hearts the friendly life-blood cheered! For in dire danger fear hath more of might, the fear of danger, than the danger feared. If not, it seemeth so. When rage of fight man's sprite to quell or kill the foe hath stirred, it makes him all unheed how high the cost were loss of limb, or dear life rashly lost. Battle's uncertain work begins, and move right wings on either part to take the plain, these fighting to defend the land they love, those egged on by hope that land to gain. Soon great Pereira, who would foremost prove the knightly valour of his nobles' train, charges and shocks, and strews the field till sown with those who covet what is not their own. Now in the dust-blurred air with strident sound bolts, arrows, darts, and manifold missiles fly. Beneath the destroyer's horny hoof the ground quaketh in terror, and the dales reply. Shiver the lances, thundereth around the frequent crash of felled armoury. Foes on the little force redoubling fall of Nuno fierce, who makes great numbers small. See, there his brethren meet him in the fray, fierce chance and cruel case, but dreads he not. Right little were it brother foe to slay, who against king and country traitorous fought. Amid these renegades not a few that day wore in the foremost squadrons fury fraught against their brethren and their kin, sad fate, as in great Julius' warfare with the great. O thou Sertorius, O great Coriolane, Catiline, all ye hosts of bygone age, who gainst your fatherland with hearts profane raged with ravening parricidal rage. If where Sumanus holds his dismal reign, most dreadful torments must your sin assuage, tell him that in our Portugal sometimes suckled some traitors guilty of your crimes. Here doth the foremost of our lines give way, so many foemen have its force oppressed. There standeth Nuno, brave as lion at bay, where Afrixata rears her hilly crest, who sees the circling troop of cavalry o'er the Tetuan plain to chase addressed, and raging as they couch the deadly spear, seems somewhat stirred, but hides all craven fear. With sidelong glance he sights them, but his spleen ferine forbids the king of beasts to show a craven back, nay, rather on the screen of plumping lances leaps he as they grow. So stands our knight, who stains and soils the green with alien gore streams. On that field lie low some of his own, howhere with valor dowered, hearts lose their virtue by such odds o'erpowered. John felt the danger and the dure front of Nuno. Straight like captain wise and ware, he rushed afield, viewed all, and in the brunt with words and works taught men fresh deeds to dare. As nursing lioness, fair and fierce of front, who, left for chase her whelp secure in lair, findeth, while foraging for their wonted food, Massilian hind hath dared to rob her brood, runs, frantic raging, while her roar and moan make the 7 brother mountains shake and rave, so John, with other chosen troop had flown forward his dexter winged to enforce and save. O strong companions, souls of high renown, cavaliers braver than what men hold brave, strike for your country. Now all earthly chance, all hope of liberty is on your lands. Behold me here, your comrade and your king, who mid the spears and harness, bolt and bow, foremost I charge, and first myself I fling. Smite, ye true Portuguese, deal yet one blow. Thus spake that great-souled warrior, brandishing 4 times his lance before the final throw, and thrusting forceful, by that single thrust, lanceth such wounds that many bite the dust. For see, his soldiers brand with ardour new, honoured repentance, honourable fire, who shall display most courage sad and true, and dare the dangers dealt by Mars his ire contend. The steel that catcheth flamy hue aims first at plate, then at the breast aims higher. Thus wounds they give, and wounds they take again, and dealing death, in death they feel no pain. Many are sent to side the Stygian wave, into whose bodies entered iron death. Here dieth Santiago's master brave, who fought with fiercest sprite till latest breath. Another master dire of Calatrave, horrid in cruel havoc, perisheth. Eke the Pereiras, foully renegade, die, God-denying and denouncing fate. Of the vile, nameless vulgar many bled, flitting with gentles through the gulf profound, where hungers, ravening with eternal greed for passing human shades the 3-head hound, and humbling more than haughty, ergot breed, and better taming enemies furibund, Castilia's Gonfanon sublime must fall beneath the forceful foot of Portugal. Here wildest battle hath its cruellest will, with deaths and shouts and slash and gory shower. The multitudinous braves were killed and kill, rob of their proper hues the bloom and flower. At length they fly, they die, now waxeth still war's note, while lance and spear have lost their power. Castilia's king the fate of pride must own, seeing his purpose changed, his host o'erthrown. The field he leaveth to the conqueror, too glad his life had not been left in fight. Follow him all who can, and panic sore lends them not feet, but feathered wings for flight. Their breasts are filled with a wild dolour, for deaths, for treasure waste in wanton plight, for woe, disgust, and foul dishonour's soil, to see the victor revelling in their spoil. Some fly with furious curses and blaspheme him who the world with warfare made accursed. Others, that covetous breast all culpable deem, for greed and quickened by his selfish thirst, that, alien wealth to win with sore extreme, he plunged his hapless folk in woes the worst, leaving so many wives and mothers lorn of sons and spouses, evermore to mourn. Camped our conquering John the customed days, on foughten field, in glory of the brave. Then, with vowed pilgrimage, gift, prayer, and praise, he gave him graces who such victory gave. But Nuno, willing not by peaceful ways on human memory his name to grave, but by his sovereign feats of war, commands his men pass over to Transpagan lands. His gallant project favoureth destiny, making effect commensurate with cause. The lands that bordered by the Vandals lie, yielding their treasures, bow before his laws. Now batic banners which Seville o'erfly, and flags of various princes, without pause, all trail foot-trampled, not their force availeth, whate'er the forceful Portingal assaileth. By these and other victories oppressed, Castilia's lieges long deplore their woes, when peace by all desired, and gentle rest, to grant their vanquished foe the victors chose. Then seemed it good to his almighty hest, that the contending sovereigns should espouse two royal damsels born of English race, princesses famed for honour, form, and grace. Kneels the brave bosom, used to bloody broil, the lack of foemen who his force shall dree, and thus, earth holding none to slay and spoil, he carries conquest o'er the unconquered sea. First of our kings is he who left the soil patrial, teaching Afric's penury, by dint of arms, how much in word and deed the laws of Christ Mohammed's laws exceed. See, thousands swimming, birds the silvery plain of Thetis cleave, and spurn her fume and fret, with bellied wings to seize the wind they strain, where his extremest meet Alcides said. Mount Abila, and dyed with tar and fain Seta, they seize, ignoble Mohammed they oust, and thus our general Spain secure from Julian craft disloyal and impure. Death granted not to Portugal's desire hero so happy long should wear the crown, but soon the angelic host and heavenly choir a home in highest heaven made his own. Toward his Lucia, and to raise her higher, he who withdrew him left a goodly boon, building our country on her broadest base, of noble infants a right royal race. No way so happy was Duarte's fate, what while he rose the royal rank to fill. Thus troublous time doth ever alternate pleasure with pain, and temper good with ill. What man hath lived through life in joyous state, who firmness finds in fortune's fickle will? Yet to this kingdom and this king she deigned spare the vicissitudes her laws ordained. Captive he saw his brother, hight Fernand, the saint aspiring high with purpose brave, who, as a hostage in the Saracen hand, betrayed himself his leaguered host to save. He lived for purest faith to fatherland, the life of noble ladies sold a slave, last bought with price of Seta's potent town, to public welfare be preferred his own. Codrus, lest foeman conquer, freely chose to yield his life, and conquering self, to die. Regulus, lest his land in aught should lose, lost for all time all hopes of liberty. This, that Hispania might in peace repose, chose lifelong thrall, etern captivity. Codrus nor Curtius with men's offer meed, nor loyal Decii ever dared such deed. Afonso, now his kingdom's only heir, a name of victory on our Spanish strand, who the hot fierceness of the Moor's frontier to lowest misery tamed with mighty hand, party, had been a peerless cavalier, had he not lusted after Ebro land, but still shall Afric say 'twere hopeless feat on battle-plains such terrible king to beat. This could pluck golden apples from the bough, which only he in tyrants born could pluck. He yoked the salvage Moor, and even now the salvage Moorman's neck must bear his yoke. Still palms and greeny bays begird his brow, won from the barbarous raging hosts that flock Alcacer's forted town with arms to guard, Tanger the populous and Arzil the hard. All these by gallant deeds in fine were gained, and low lay every diamantine wall, anent the Portingals now taught and trained to throw the power that lists to try a fall. Such extreme marvels by strong arms attained, right worthy eloquent Scripture one and all, the gallant cavaliers whose jests of glory added a lustre to our Lusian story. But soon ambition madded, goaded on by passion of dominion bitter sweet, he falls on Ferdinand of Aragon, Castile's hot kingdom hoping to defeat. The swarming hostile crowds their armour don, the proud and various races troop and meet, from Cadiz fast to towering Pyrenae, who bow to Ferdinand the neck and knee. Scorned and idler in the realm to rest, the youthful John, who taketh early heed to aid his greedy father with his best, in sooth came thence at the hour of need, issued from bloody battle's terrible test, with brow unmoved, serene in words and deed, maugred defeat, the sire, that man of blood, while twixt the rivals victory doubtful stood. For that of valiant princely vein his son, a gentle, stalwart, right, magnanimous king, when to th' opponents he such harm had done, one whole day camped on the field of fight. Thus from Octavian was the victory won, while Anthony his mate was victor hight, when they the murderers who the Caesars slew upon Philippi filled the deed made rule. But as through gathered shades of night etern Afonso sped to realms of endless joy, the prince who rose to rule our realm in turn was John the Second and the 13th Roy. This never-dying glory's meed to earn, higher than ventured mortal man to fly ventured, who sought those bounds of ruddy morn, which I go seeking this my voyage born. Envoys commissioned he, who passing o'er Hispania, Gaul, and honored Italy, took ship in haven of the illustrious shore, where erst inhumed lay Parthenope. Naples, whose destiny was decreed of yore, the veriest stranger's slave and thrall to be, and rise in honor when her years are full, by sovereign Hispania's noble rule. They cleave the bright blue waves of Siculan deeps, by sandy marge of Rhodos' isle they go, and thence debark they where the cliffy steeps are still enfamed for Magnus here lain low. To Memphis wend they, and the land that reaps crops which fat Nilus' flood doth overflow, and climb beyond Egypt to those Ethiop heights where men conserve Christ's high and holy rites. And eke they pass the waters Erythraean, where pass the shipless peoples Israelite, remain arear the range Nabatean, which by the name of Ishmael's seed are hight. Those odoriferous incense coasts Sabaean, dainty Adonis' mother's dear delight, they round, and all of happy Araby known, leaving the waste of sand and rain of stone. They push where still preserveth Persic strait, confused Babel's darkling memory, there where the Tiger blendeth with Euphrates, which from their headstreams hold their heads so high. Thence fare they his pure stream to find, whose fate will be to deal such length of history, Indus, and cross that breadth of ocean bed where daring Trajan never dared tread. Strange tribes they saw, and through wild peoples past Gedrosian and Carmanian end of end, seeing the various custom, various caste, which every region beareth in her kind. But from such asperous ways, such voyage vast, man finds not facile safe return to find. In fine, there die they, and to natal shore, to home, sweet home, return they nevermore. Reserved, meseemeth, Heaven's clear-sighting will for Manuel, worthy of such goodly meed, this arduous task, and stirred him onward still to stirring action and illustrious deed. Manuel, who rose the throne of John to fill, and to his high resolves did eke succeed, forthwith, when taken of his realm the charge, took up the conquest of the ocean large. The same as one obliged by a noble thought, the debt of honour left as heritance, by predecessors who in life aye fought their own dear land's best interests to advance, ne'er for a moment failed of his fraught obligement at what our day's radiance pales, and the knitted stars on high that rise with falling courses woo men's sleep-worn eyes, already being on bed of gold reclined, where fancy worketh with prophetic strain, revolving matters in his restless mind, the bounden duties of his race and reign. Sleep, soft restorer, comes his eyne to bind, while thought and memory both unbound remain. For, as his weary lid sweet slumber sealeth, Morpheus in varied forms himself revealeth. Here seems the king so high to soar away, that touched his head the nearest primal sphere, where worlds of vision 'neath his glances lay, nations of vasty numbers, strange in fear. And there, right near the birthplace of the day, unto his outstretched eyne began appear, from distant, olden, cloud-compelling mountains, flowing, a twain of high, deep, limpid fountains. Birds of the feral kind and kine and flocks bode in the shadows of the shaggy wood. A thousand herbs and trees with gnarled stalks, barring the paths of passing mortals, stood. Adverse had ever been those mountain rocks to human intercourse, and clearly showed never since Adam sinned against our days break foot of man this breadth of bosky maze. From out the fountain seemed he to behold, for him inclining, with long hasty stride, two men, who showed old and very old of aspect rustic, yet with lordly pride. Adown their twisted, pointed locks slow rolled gouts which their bodies bathed on every side, the skin of earthy texture, dark and dull, the beard hirsute, unshorn, but long and full. These hoary fathers round their foreheads bore tree boughs, with unknown shrub and herb entwined, and one a worn and wearied aspect wore, as though from regions lying far behind. And thus his waters, which did slower pour, seemed adown the further side to wind. E'en thus Alpheus from Arcadia fled to Syracuse and Arethusa's bed. This, who with graver gait and gesture came, thus from a distance to the monarch crieth, "O thou, whose sceptre and whose crown shall claim of earth mighty part that guarded lieth, we twain, who fly through mouths of men by fame, we, whose untamed neck men's yoke defieth, warn thee, O king, 'tis time to send commands, and raise large tribute from our natal lands. Illustrious Ganges am I, whose farthest fount in realms celestial, heavenly heights I trace, and yon stands Indus, king, who on the mount, which thou regardest, hath of birth his place. Thou shalt hard warfare wage on our account, but still insisting every fear to face, with nursing conquests, and some soil or stain, the tribes thou viewest thou shalt curb and reign. No more that holy noble river said, both in a moment fade and disappear. Awaketh Manuel in novel dread, and big o'ercharged thoughts see bred of fear. Meanwhile his glittering mantle Phoebus spread upon the sombre somnolent hemisphere. Dawn comes, and o'er the gloomy welkin showers blushing of modest rose and fiery flowers. The king in council calls his lords to meet, and of the visioned figures news imparts. the holy elder's words he doth repeat, which with a mighty marvel heaves their hearts, all straight resolved t'equip a sturdy fleet, that men well skilled in navigator arts should cut the stubborn main, and forth should fare in search of novel climes and novel air. I, who right little deemed, forsooth, to find myself attaining hopes my sprite desired, yet mighty matters of such cunning kind my heart presaging promised and inspired. E'en now can not, or how, or why designed, or for what happy chance in me admired, that famous monarch chose me, gave to me of this grave, gracious enterprise the key, and with fair offer couched in courteous phrase, lordly command obliging more than laws, he said, in exploits dure and daring ways, who woo most perils win the most applause, risk life and fameth men with highest praise, or lost in honours, not in honour's cause. And when to blighting fear it never bends, short it may be, yet more its length extends. Thee from a chosen host have chosen I, the dangers claimed by thee to undergo. 'Tis heavy travail, hard, heroic, high, which love of me shall lighten, well I trow. I could not suffer more. Great king, I cry, to face the steel-clad host, sword, lance, fire, snow, for thee were things so slight, my sole annoy is to see trivial life so vain a toy. Imagine every wildest aventure, such as Eurystheus for Alcides planned, Cleone's lion, Harpies foul and door, and boar of Erymath and Hydra band. In fine, to seek those empty shades obscure, where Styx surrounds of this the dire dead land, the greatest danger and the deadliest brunt, for thee, O king, this soul, this flesh would front. His thanks and costly gifts on me bestows the king, whose reason lauds my ready will. For valour fed on praises lives and grows, praise is the noble spirit's spur and spell. At once to share my fortunes doth propose, whom friendship and fraternal love compel, nor less resolve to win him name and fame, a dear trusty brother named Paul da Gama. Eke Nicolas Coelho volunteers, trained to toilsome tasks and sufferings long. Both are in valour and in counsel peers, in arms experienced and in battle strong. Now choicest hands in youth-tide's generous years, lusting for bravery's meed around me throng, doughty, high-mettled, as doth best become adventurous manhood that would tempt such doom. All these by Manuel's hand remunerate were, that love through duty might the more increase, and with high words each heart was fired to bear adventures peradventure some surcease. Thus did the Minyae for their feet prepare, to gain the glories of the Golden Fleece, oraculous Argos ship that dared the first through Euxine waves her venturous way to burst. Now in famed Lusiads' haven manned with raptures worthy of the great design, where his sweet liquor and his snowy sand Artagas blendeth with Neptunian brine, ride the ships ready. Here my strong young band, by fear unbridled, glad in labour join. For those of Mars and Neptune, one and all, the world would wonder did I only call. Fast by the foreshore comes the soldiery, in various colours pranked with various art, nor less enforced by inner force are they, to seek and see earth's unexplored part. Round the good navy gentle breezes play, and blithely waves each airy estendard. They swear, far gazing on the breadth of brine, mid stars Olympic Argo-like to shine. When all prepared according to this sword, with what of one such lengthy way demandeth, our souls we did prepare for death's disport, who before seamen's eyne for ever standeth. To the most highest, throned in heaven's court, which he sustains, whose glance this globe commandeth, that he, our guard and guide, his Aiden's land, we prayed, and see our incept to its end. Thus we departed from the saintly shrine, built on the margent of the briny wave, named, for all memory, from the land divine, where God incarnate came the world to save. King, I assure thee, when this mind of mine remembereth how 'twas ours those shores to leave, Filled are my sprite and heart with doubts and fears, and eyes can hardly stay their trickling tears. The city people on that saddest day, these for their bosom friends, and those for kin, and others but spectators, thronged the way, sad and downhearted at the dreary scene. We, winding through the virtuous array, 1,000 monks and priests of reverend mien, praying, in solemn pageant, to the Lord, afoot set forth the ready barks to board. On such long dubious courses sent to steer, us deemed the people denizens of the tomb. The wailing women shed a piteous tear, and sadly sighed the men to sight our doom. Wives, sisters, mothers, most their hearts must fear whose love is foremost, added to the gloom despair, and shuddered with a freezing fright, lest we, their loved ones, be lost to sight. This following saith, O son, I ever held cold of my sorrows and the sweet relief of mine already weary wayworn eld, so soon to sink in glooms of need and grief. Why leave me thus to want and woe compelled? Why fly, my love, fond child, whose days so brief shall set in darkness, and in briny grave shalt feed the fishes of the greedy wave? That, with loosed locks, O thou and dearest spouse, lacking whose love willeth not I live, why risk, when daring ocean's wrath to rouse, thy life, my life, which is not thine to give? How canst forget our fond fair marriage vows? Why face the waves a homeless fugitive? Our love, our vain content shall not avail, thrown to the breezes as they blow the sail. With such and similar words that spake the tongue of love and human nature's yearning woe, followed our seaward path both old and young, life's two extremes by time made weak and slow. Sad echo wailed the near wolds among, as though hard hills were moved grief to show, and tears the snowy shore suchwise bedewed, drops rivelled sands in equal multitude. Of us the company, ne'er raising eye on wife or mother, marched in such a state, we feared our hearts fall faint, and fain we fly our fixed resolves, repenting all too late. Thus I determined straight aboard to hie some fare-thee wells by custom consecrate, which, though they be dear love's own lovely way, redouble grief to those who go or stay. But now an aged sire of reverend mien, upon the foreshore thronged by the crowd, with eyne fast fixed upon our forms was seen, and discontented thrice his brow he bowed, his deep-toned accents raising somewhat keen, that we from shipward hear him speak aloud, with lore by long experience only grown, thus from his time-taught breast he made his moan. O craving of command, O vain desire, of vainest vanity man miscaled fame! O fraudulent gust, so easy fanned to fire by breath of vulgar, aping honour's name! What just and dreadful judgment deals thine ire to silly souls who over-love thy claim? What deaths, what direful risks, what agonies, wherewith thou gird'nest them, thy fitting prize? Thou dark disturber of men's sprite and life, fount of backsliding and adultery, sagacious waster and consummate thief of subjects, kingdoms, treasure, empery. They hail thee noble, and they hail thee chief, though thine of all indignities thou be. They call thee fame and glory's sovereign. Words, words, the heart of silly herd to gain. What new disaster dost thou here design? What horror for our realm and race invent? What unheard dangers, or what deaths condign, veiled by some name that soundeth excellent? What bribe of gorgeous reign and golden mine, whose ready offer is so rarely meant? What fame hast promised them? What pride of story? What palms, what triumphs, what victorious glory? But O race gendered by his sin insane, whom disobedience of the high command not only chased from the heavenly reign and doomed to distant and exiled land, but eke from other state too blessed for men, where peace with innocence fared hand in hand, that olden golden age his victims hurled into an iron and an armed world. Since by this gustful vanity led astray, lighter thou makest man's light fantasy, since his brute fierceness and his lust of prey bear honored names of strength and valiancy, since thou wilt prize and prize in wildest way despisal of men's life, which aye should be esteemed of mortals, nay, held doubly dear, when he who gave it up with fear. Neighbours thee not the hateful Ishmaelite, with whom abundant strife shalt ever hold? Follows he not the Arabian's law and right, and thou wouldst fight to fill of Christ the fold? 1,000 cities, regions infinite, are they not his, and covetous earth and gold? Is he not strong in warfare, high in name, if honour be not greed of gain thine aim? Dost leave the foeman breeding at thy gate, who wendest foreign far a fone to seek, whereby this antique realm lies desolate, whose strength, o'erstretched, walks it ruinous weak? Seekest thou dark and dubious chance of fate, who hearest fame with honeyed accents speak, lauding thy lot, and hailing thee Señor of Ind, Pers, Arab, and Ethiopia's shore? O curse the mortal who the first was found teaching the tree to wear the flowing sheet, worthy the eternal pains of the profound, if just that justest law I hold and greet. Ne'er may man's judgment lofty and renowned, nor genius rare, nor harp sonorous sweet, requite such gift with memory, honour, fame. Perish thy glory, perish in thy name. Iapetus' daring son from heaven brought the fire he added human breasts to bless, fire that inflamed towards a world distraught with death and eke disgrace. Ah, sad distress! How better far for us and ours hadst wrought Prometheus, and with loss of life the less, had thy famed statue never felt the fire of great designs that gender great desire. Ne'er had the stripling miserably brave tempted his sire's high car, nor empty air the mighty mason and his boy who gave names which the sea-gulf and the river bear. No fearsome prize fell by land and wave, through fire, steel, water, wind, frost, heat to fare, wherein the human race loves not to range. Sorrowful sort, condition strangest strange. End of Canto 4.